Okay, so this is the second talk of the Nutrition Graduates Virtual Careers event. Thank you, ladies, for coming on and helping us out with this one. So this is all about something that is, I know I've struggled with it over the past couple of months, and I know a lot of people on the Nutrition Graduates group sort of always bring this up. So it's about completing successful AfN portfolios and becoming part of the AfN. So if we do a quick overview and get you all to sort of introduce yourself first, that would be great. So I don't know who wants to go first.
I go? Okay. Well, yeah, so I'm Louise. I'm the rep for, oh God, I can hear myself. I'm the rep for the AfN in West Midlands. I'm currently lecturing at UCB in food and nutrition. I'm also sitting on the floor. I'm sorry about that. I have just explained why. It's really weird. What else have I done? I started my career as a dietetic assistant for Birmingham Solihull Mental Health Trust, which I probably would have stayed at if the money had been better. To be honest, it was like probably my favourite job. I absolutely loved it. And then I moved to Mitchells and Butlers, which obviously I also loved because that's where I met Sarah, who encouraged me to put together my portfolio, because it is one of those things, like, you see it as such a massive hurdle, and it is just about somebody just breaking it down to you and just making it easier for you to like overcome, I guess. And then I moved down to London. Well, I did my masters then in public health. I did my undergrad in nutrition at Bournemouth. So then I did my masters in public health at Worcester. And then I moved down to London, worked for a startup company for a couple of years called Spoon Guru. And then, yeah, moved back here and currently lecturing as a food and nutrition lecturer.
Yeah, you're my at my old uni doing my course.
Yeah, I literally started when you left.
Yeah, just missed you. Fantastic, you've done so much already. So Laura, Sarah, who wants to volunteer themselves next?
I'm happy to go next.
Okay.
So I'm Laura Street. I was trying to think actually how long I've been a registered nutritionist for. I think it's 2007 I am registered with the AfN. So I was trying to recall myself putting the portfolio together. I'm also registrar of the AfN, which means I chair the registration committee. I'm a trustee and on the council, and if you've got your certificates already, you'll see that I've got a really messy signature because I sign off the certificates. I've had quite a varied career, and I've been really lucky. So for about 5 years I worked with England rugby squad in sports nutrition. I've worked with a couple of retailers, so Tesco, and I'm currently head up the nutrition team at Marks and Spencer's, which is really exciting. And I've also taught as well. So I've done quite a few things with my career. So yeah, lots of exciting things for everyone to do in the world of nutrition.
Yeah, fantastic. So everyone's done such varied careers. No one sort of goes down one straight path, do they? It's always so interesting to hear everybody's views and everybody's stories. Fab. Sarah, do you want to jump on now?
Yes, so I'm Sarah Jackson, and I did my degree in public health nutrition in 2008, and that was accredited by the AfN. And then when I graduated, I was a deputy regional rep for the Northwest AfN back in like 2011 or 2012. And then since then I've worked in the food industry at Heinz, and I work for Mitchells and Butlers at the moment as their company nutritionist. I am also a sports nutritionist. I went back to uni and did a postgrad in sports nutrition. So I have my own private clinic where I practice sports nutrition out of there. And yeah, I'm also a portfolio assessor for the AfN. So I'm really a massive advocate of the Association for Nutrition. And yeah, that's kind of, I can go into loads more detail because I could talk about it all day, so I don't want to go into too much. But yeah, at the moment I'm working at Mitchells and Butlers and in private clinic, so I have a bit of experience in both.
Fabulous. So I think maybe the best way to sort of start this is if one of you could quickly sort of explain the AfN and sort of the registration process. So I know it's always sort of gets thrown around like AfN registered nutrition, like ANutras, RNutras. So can one of you just sort of quickly explain like the AfN.
Laura, is that best with you, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm happy to, but please chip in as well. As you probably all know, it's a register, and the idea of the AfN is to protect the public. We know that nutritionist sadly isn't a protected title at the moment, but obviously registered nutritionists are. So if you go through your portfolio, you'll be listed, or if you've done an accredited degree, you'll be listed as a associate nutritionist. And if you then have experience for 3 years and complete your portfolio, you would then become a registered nutritionist, so that people can search and check that you actually on that register, so the public know if they reach out to any one of us, and employees as well. And the benefit is that what that also means is you obviously pay to be a member every year once you're a registered nutritionist, and for your portfolio to be reviewed. But it also means that it's a kind of gold standard of that fitness to practice, and that you comply with the ethical standards of being a nutritionist, and that you have the knowledge. And as you all are aware, to be a good nutritionist, you need several different competencies. So the portfolio and the ongoing CPD also means that you are you can definitely check that you are fulfilling all of those competencies. So you might get a first in your degree and you're an absolute expert in the academic, but can you show that you've got the ethics behind you that also deliver that? Because that's obviously really important to people coming to you, because they are trusting you with your dietary recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah or Louise, I'm not sure if you'd like to add anything to that.
Yeah, I think it's really important, because I mentor a few nutritionists that are associate nutritionists, and I get asked quite a lot about what they're allowed to do. And actually the AfN is brilliant at showing kind of working within your scope, and the guidance is so clear. So I found it, even when I was an associate, I was very careful about what I was doing, because like you say, you learn so much at university, but actually you don't really learn many practical skills of how to implement that knowledge. So the competencies that you've got to meet to become fully registered are so thorough and detailed that it really does give you a really great platform to be able to be confident in what you're going to be doing going forward. That's how I found it, and I think the guys that I mentor, I think, are the same. You know, there's really great guidance there, and just being part of the association just gives you that kind of security blanket, I think. Whereas if you know that you're doing everything that is expected of you with the AfN, then you can't go wrong, really. You know, as long as you're sticking to the code of conduct and working within your scope, then it is that security blanket that you need, because a lot of nutritionists work solo. So, you know, it's great to be able to use the Association for Nutrition as kind of that hub and the heart of what you're going to be doing practically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to add, like, obviously we all hear it, nutritionist, it isn't a protected title. Anyone can call themselves a nutritionist, so it does just set you aside from the rest and show that you have got the right qualifications in order to, like, practice.
Yeah, and there's lots of hard work going on in the background to try and get the chartership as well still, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It's a long time coming. That day will be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I have seen the petition going through. I think I've signed a few of them, actually. So
there's a few hoops to jump through.
Yes, yeah, I imagine it's not an easy process. But yeah, I totally agree what you said, Laura. That I got a first in my degree a year ago, but some of the like professional competencies I didn't feel like I hit. So I only applied for the AfN a few months ago, because I've had a few more months of sort of work experience, and I sort of managed to sort of get the niche on those a little bit. So I think I don't know if you guys would agree, it's sort of important to sort of look at what the competencies are, and then if you are lacking in any of the areas, then looking at CPD or work experience or something to try and bring that up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And sorry if I've just interrupted Louise, because you've just flashed up there. Sorry. But yeah, I found that I think when you do leave university, you're well within your rights to call yourself a nutritionist anyway. Like I say, unfortunately it's not protected, but especially if you've signed up to the AfN, then amazing. but you know, you really need to be careful about going practicing with clients straight away from university, because that is something that you need that professional experience in. And I think that's why a lot of people now turn to a mentor, because they need that guidance before they just go and graduate and start working with people one-on-one, because at the end of the day, the whole kind of goal of the AfN is to protect the public. So if we're working with the AfN to protect the public, and health is a massive thing, like it's so personal to every single one of us, that because you've got that knowledge from university doesn't necessarily translate into working with clients straight away. So that's something that I've been asked quite a lot about, and I've worked quite a lot with the people that I mentor, because it's really difficult. And I think if you follow how the AfN talk about this in their guidance, I think you'd be quite shocked actually about how much you need to know and how much you need to experience before you can just go on and start doing that. And that again comes back to me really preaching about working within your scope. So yeah, that's just, I don't know if there's any questions about that, or how, like Laura and Louise, you've experienced anything like that, but I think that's really important, because the whole point of the AfN is to protect the public.
No, definitely. I mean, it's not really well, the last talk I had with Lucy for the nutrition graduates, like I spoke about my career and stuff, and how I didn't really do the best at uni. Like I went to uni at the wrong time. I should have definitely had a break from education. Uni life just took over, so I literally scraped through, to be honest. So CPD and that work experience was just extremely important for me. So I was quite lucky at Bournemouth Uni, because I think it was my second year it then became accredited, but before that we would have had to go through the portfolio entry, and I wouldn't have been screwed, because I did do a bit of work experience whilst I was there, but it just shows that CPD and the work experience that you do like after uni, during uni, just how important it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd done some work experience, and then a private sports clinic offered me some work, and I was really excited. And this was, you know, I'd just finished at university, but like I said, I had been doing work experience before. And I went there, and I felt so out of my depth, and because actually you also have to be comfortable with taking on that responsibility. If you're not working under a registered nutritionist or someone giving you guidance, you're taking that responsibility. So if you don't feel comfortable, although you really want to be working, and it felt uncomfortable because I wanted to be part of that clinic, but I just felt that they were just putting me too far up my depth. So I did say, actually I've only got a year's experience. I don't think I actually should be advising these people.
Being part of the AfN, it is always good to talk to other registered and associate nutritionists about that, whether you are kind of going a bit out of your kind of scope of practice kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Sorry, my dog's barking in the background. I knew she'd start that. So I think the biggest question I've kind of been asked is, what do you guys think makes a successful portfolio? I think that's kind of something that a lot of people struggle with. So have you got any tips for that?
Yeah, I mean, when that's where I actually met Laura, was the portfolio day, wasn't it, in the AfN's head office, where we kind of go through how we meant to like mark a portfolio. So Laura's been doing this longer than me, I think, so I won't talk too much about it. But from my side, it's just making sure that you realise that the person on the other side of that portfolio, who's going to be kind of saying yes, you can transfer over, doesn't know you. So we can't mark a portfolio of somebody that we know. So we literally don't know anybody's work. So what you send in that portfolio has to give us such a really good idea of what your experience is. So don't think that giving too much information is a bit too much information. Like, we need that. So for every piece of work you submit, then please back it up with like a reflective piece of writing about what you've learned and how you've taken these skills going forward. Was it beneficial for you? Be really transparent, because you've got all that information in your head and you've attended them CPD events, which is great, and you might put the certificate in your portfolio, but you could you could just go and turn up and not listen to a thing that anyone said there. So, you know, really reflect on that, because like I say, we're going in blind to who you are and what your experience is. So I think the more information you can give to support your evidence, the better. That's personally how I work. Laura, I don't know if you're...
Yeah, and I think also labelling it really clearly, so labelling the competencies, otherwise the poor assessor is kind of trying to filter through, and it becomes quite stressful and frustrating, and you won't be representing your brilliant work that you've included as well as you could, because if it's hard to match, so to Sarah's point as well, just being really clear what you're demonstrating and how, whether that's through labelling it clearly and then also your reflective work, as well as being extensive in what you're trying to demonstrate. Also, when I submitted mine, I was really excited. I hand delivered it, and I got on the train and I was really proud of myself, and then got a phone call and was like, this is far too long, because I think I submitted about this much, because I was like, oh, I don't know how to cut it down. So through fault of my own, don't make it too long.
And you can also use the same example for different competencies as well, can't you? So, you know, every competency and every subsection of that competency doesn't need a brand new piece of evidence. You know, you can use the same evidence for a couple of different things, and that'll help you cut it down a little bit, I think. Yeah. And as we've already said, the breadth of competencies is really important as well. But there's loads of support as well. I haven't been involved with the regional, and it sounds like Sarah and Louise have got much more experience in the regional elements. But I know Glynis has been running. You can book in a call, and she can help you with your portfolio. Yeah, actually,
I ran one for the West Midlands, so I had a few. I didn't have that many people join, actually. I think there was about 10 of us, but I think they found it helpful. I know a couple of the girls are now fully registered after that. So
if anyone's listening actually from the Northwest, Glenys is actually doing, it's on Monday 7 till 9, and she's going to be talking about the competencies and things like that. So if you're a member of the Northwest, then register for that, because that's going to be really great. So be really useful. All about the 30-hour CPD that we've got to do every year and stuff now. So it'll be great to actually hear from her.
That would be great. How would they find that? Is that sort of...
So if you're part of the Northwest Regional Network, I'm so sorry, the dog, then it should be on the Facebook group. The link's on the Facebook group.
Okay.
I'm going to mute myself now because he's going to bark.
Yeah, I've had the same problem, don't worry.
I think my biggest tip about making a successful portfolio is just start as well. I think it's like anything, you can, it is a relatively big task, and you'll feel really proud when you've done it, but it's just starting it, just do it sort of mentality, because actually then you'll have a much clearer idea of if you do have gaps, or actually if you don't, and it's ready to go.
Yeah, because when I was actually ready to do it, like after speaking to Sarah, because I'd been saving my certificates and just like screenshots of things that I've done, and all just these other kind of things like in my files, like whether online or, well, not online, but on my computer or just in a folder at home, because I'd been saving it all, thinking, oh, that might be useful for my portfolio once I do it. It was actually quite an easy task. Like I just had to, I used the forms that were on the AfN website and just wrote about what I did, what I learned, and how I'd take it forward in my practice. Just kind of whatever. I put them together and just had to write like my cover letter, and I was pretty much done, just the mapping form. So when I actually got round to doing it, it wasn't that much of a big task, because I've been doing it along the way without even really realising.
Were you impressed with how much you've done as well? I think it makes you realise actually.
Yeah, definitely. You don't realise, do you? But
and just start as soon as you want to start as well, because a few people say, oh, I'm not an associate nutritionist yet, so does the CPD count? But just log it. Any little bit counts. As long as if it's accredited by the AfN, then why not? I always think just start the CPD now, and when the reflective, and even if it's you don't use it for your portfolio, even just the practice of reflecting on something that you've learned from a CPD event is like I say, then it'll just become second nature for you to do it, and it should hopefully be really easy to organise when you actually come to submitting.
Yeah, and you can submit online now, so it makes it easier. So if you keep that log, yeah, so if you keep your files on the computer, it's much easier now.
Yeah, I think I had to do mine online. You just have to send like the massive documents. You just have a panic to think, oh my God, is it all going to go through? But so when you're saying about sort of you've got a CPD and you sort of reflect on it, would you sort of keep a document with all of those on then, just so you've got it all, or are you sort of having your CPD certificates in a folder? Have you got any sort of tips to keeping the CPD sort of nice and organised to help them register?
I mean, yeah, I think as soon as you do CPD reflect and then put that in a wallet and, you know, just like Laura said, just label that. And then if you've got your competency form in front of you, what you need to meet, then maybe put this like, I don't know if it's changed since it's gone online, but there's usually a little code, isn't there, that you match the code from the competency to your evidence. So, you know, you could just have like a post-it at the top where you write the code down of what evidence that would meet. And then, you know, and then just put that into a folder in dividers. And then that, you know, that would be my advice. I tried to do that, and it did help actually in the end. It's just getting into that routine of doing it.
Yeah, okay. So I know a lot of people always sort of ask in the group examples of evidence. So I know you've mentioned like CPD, like work experience, but can you sort of go over different pieces of evidence? So like the common ones, the ones that sort of stand out to you guys when you sort of assessing them?
Yeah, sorry if I'm boring and saying.
So you guys carry on with this question.
I think it's really great to see the practical side of things. So, you know, it's great to go on these CPD courses and reflect on that, but actually like work experience and like how you've tackled a situation that could meet the competencies is really great to see, because that's what, to be a registered nutritionist especially, that's what you need to have, is them practical skills rather than just CPD. So you know, it could be anything. It could be something you've learned from CPD that actually you then put into practice at work and you've reflected on that. That's always great to see, because it shows that you've taken something you've learned and put it into practice. And I think for me that's quite an exciting bit of evidence to see, because it's showing that switch between being an associate nutritionist to registered, because your skills will change slightly. So that's always great to see. I don't know if Laura's any different.
Yeah, I agree with that. And presentations, so where you've learned things, and like Sarah said, so if it's presentations you've seen or CPD that you've done, and then how you translate that, because actually that's obviously what you'll do in your jobs, and that's where actually if you can filter that and provide practical terms and really bring it to life for people, that's, you know, that demonstrates being a great nutritionist. And also, like, if you've written any articles, or if you want to do that, then that's also, you can flip it the other way. Is there a gap that actually you've always wanted to write something about, I don't know, gut health in your university magazine, then actually you can push yourself to do that, and then that will count towards your portfolio as well.
Yeah, so sort of getting yourself out there and just sort of putting all your different pieces in there then, so sort of showcasing everything that you've done, so sort of nothing's out of bounds then, really.
No, be proud of the work that you've done, you know, really show it off, because like, don't be too humble about it, because the more you show it off and the more you present to us what you've done, then the easier it makes us as assessor in our job as an assessor. So yeah, don't be afraid to show off what you've done.
Fabulous. So we've had loads of questions in the box, so I'm probably going to go over a few of those at the moment. So there's been a couple of questions about mentors. So I don't know if you guys would sort of have any points on this, but is there a way to find a mentor, or would you just approach somebody appropriate in your area?
I don't know if there's an AfN way, but I've just been contacted, just been approached by the individual, and then if I've got, you know, the capacity to take them on and mentor them, then I've said yes. So that's the way I've done it. But I don't know. I think there might be an AfN way. Is there, Laura, for a mentor?
We don't have a formal way at the moment. It's on our list of things to achieve, but we haven't quite got to to that one yet. So yeah, but obviously as the register shows lots of different people's names as well and contact details, you can always do that as well as a route.
Yeah.
I suppose go on.
Sorry, Lisa. I was just going to say, and somebody that's kind of in the same field as what either you aspire to be in, or where you're working at the moment, because then you can really get the most out of that mentor.
Yeah, I think it's quite hard if someone approaches you and just says, "I want you to mentor me." You almost need not necessarily a problem, but you know, I haven't got much experience, I'm really interested in this, or my confidence is lacking, or I want to upskill in this area, and I've seen you've got the skills. So actually saying that is really helpful. Otherwise it's quite an awkward first conversation.
Yeah, and really as a mentor, like, you're there for them, so you want the mentee to kind of drive the agenda, because then you can like drop your little knowledge bombs in where it's needed. So yeah, so don't be afraid to approach somebody, and like Laura said, be very explicit about what you want from them, because it makes the mentor like, well, yeah, I can definitely help with that, or no, you might be better to go and speak to somebody else.
Yeah,
I love that, knowledge bombs. I'll use that.
They don't happen a lot, but
yeah. And some people have asked, does it cost to get a mentor?
No, I don't charge. I think there is certain online courses that once you've completed the course, I won't mention any names, but when you've completed the course, they then charge you a significant amount every month to have a mentor. So be careful, maybe be a bit wary of that. But the people that I spoke to who mentor don't tend to charge. But I personal.
Yeah, I have used one once before an interview, actually, so not nutrition related, but more of a recruiter. And I think they charged £30 an hour, but I only needed an hour and a half. But that just helped me with those interview skills. So I guess it goes back to what are you trying to solve for, because it might not be actually a nutritionist that can help you the most, depending on what you're trying to upskill in.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of honing in on exactly what you need a mentor for, not just turning up to somebody and going, mentor me.
Yeah.
That's just not going to help them at all.
I think 9 times out of 10, they're like registered nutritionists are willing to help, like they're happy to help. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
I suppose it just goes in like a cycle, like they've had people help them, so they're then willing to help you. So it's kind of like a nice little circle of life as such. Yeah, okay. So we've had a question from Jazz, and she said, my job role crosses paths with nutritional therapists who also seem to be working evidence-based. This may just be my job role, but what is the difference between AfN nutritionists and nutritional therapists?
I don't know too much about nutritional therapy. I know it's more of a I know it's a little bit different than an AfN, like a registered nutritionist.
Yeah, I think the courses are different as well, are they? Do you think so?
Yeah, I think the science is slightly different, and it can be a little bit more holistic. Is that maybe the right word? I don't know though. Like I'm not probably the right person to answer that.
Yeah, and I guess both Sarah and I, we come from a position of being AfN registered nutritionists, not nutritional therapists, so we will be one-sided. But and I don't. I may be wrong, but my understanding is that you don't need a degree to be a nutritional therapist. That it's a different type of qualification. Whereas to be a registered nutritionist under the AfN, you do have to have done a degree in nutrition.
Yeah, that was historically that was true. I don't know if it's still true, but yeah, it was, wasn't it? There is degrees in nutritional therapy, but there was also just little courses you could do as well. Unless that's changed, then that's what my understanding was. Yeah,
that's kind of the viewpoint I've got on it as well. So Christina's asked, do you know of any events/meetings for the Scotland region for AfN? She's seen lots of other ones advertised for elsewhere, but very little in Scotland. So
do they have a rep? Does she know? Or it might be worth contacting them if they do.
Yeah, how would they go about finding the reps? Is it just on the AfN website?
Yeah, there's just a list of them for different regions.
And reach out. You know, maybe if there is a rep, but they might be snowed under with with life, you know, you could always, like, that's how I became a deputy rep. Like, I reached out and said, do you need any help, basically, do you know? So don't be afraid to offer help if you've got the time, because that rep, if there is one, might be so grateful, you know, to maybe have a little bit of support, because they're volunteering their time. So
yeah, so and that'll count towards your professional development.
yeah, definitely, more CPD.
Yes. So what kind of things do you guys do as AfN reps then? What do you have to do? Is it just sort of arranging sort of meetups in the areas or supporting people?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I thought there'd be more to it than what there is. I don't know whether it's, I mean, I've only been a rep for about a year now, probably just over, but I did think there'd be more to it. I thought we'd be meeting more as like reps from all different regions and whatever, but I have pretty much been left to my own devices, which is kind of nice as well. But moving from London to Birmingham, I was just like, there's literally nothing in Birmingham. Like, there's no CPD events or anything. So that's when I organised one in March, so just before lockdown. It was successful. It was really interesting. Had some really good guest speakers. But in the future, I would like to organise more of them. Really, more like events and networking opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Fab.
Sarah, I don't know whether you had a different experience.
No, I've not done it for about 7 or 8 years, so I can't take any credit. But yeah, it was very similar. I was just supporting the rep with the events and like the structure of the day and things like that.
Okay, so Helen has asked, do you have to wait 3 years to go from associate to registered nutritionist? So 3 years?
Yeah, minimum.
Minimum 3 years, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, would you recommend tailoring your portfolio to the area you wish to specialise in? So public health nutritionist versus like sports and exercise nutritionists?
Definitely, it will make your portfolio so much easier as well if that's where your evidence is. You might find that when you start looking through the competencies, you might be more suited to a different specialisation, probably, I don't know if that's the right word, sorry, compared to the one that you thought you was going to go down. So yeah, really tailor it, so because the competencies can be different, can't they, Laura, on different.
Yeah, I did personally, and I'm still registered as a public health nutritionist and a sports one, so I think, like you're saying, there's a lot of overlap, and then there's just certain ones to distinguish between public health and sports.
Damn, sorry, Luna was barking again. So is there a time limit to gather evidence to transfer from associate nutritionist to registered nutritionist? So you said 3 years sort of minimum, so is there a time limit?
Is it 5 to 7 years?
Yeah,
is it 7 years?
Like 5.
I think if you've registered as an associate nutritionist, you've got to kind of transfer within, I'm sure it's 5 or 7 years, but I could be wrong there. Maybe that's one for us to get back to you on, unless not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's 5, but I'm not 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, so obviously it's to make sure that you're up to date with the latest knowledge, and you've not maybe taken a massive career break where you've gone to do something else and then not worked in that field, and then you just come back to try and.
What is like portfolio? Like, if you're going through the portfolio route, what's the kind of time limit there? Do you know?
I think that's what, if your degree wasn't accredited.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I know that if it's a degree from quite a while ago, it's 10 years experience you've got to have.
Okay.
Yeah, most courses are accredited now, though, so it's very few people that.
I mean, we're currently trying to get ours accredited, but it is a bloody big process. Long process, but yeah.
Fab. Okay, let's just have a little look. There's loads of questions in here.
And equally, if there's really experienced nutritionists that have been working either before the register came in, or just kind of have thought, well, I'm established, but still want to be on the register, if they've worked for 10 years and they can go through an evidence-based route. So if you know anyone that is in that situation as well, they can still join the register.
Fab. So if you're an associate nutritionist, do you have to do a portfolio to stay as one next year? So what's kind of the process of keeping it up every year?
No, you don't have to do a portfolio every year. I don't know if I've You just need to make sure you're doing your 30 hours of CPD every year and recording that, but you don't have to submit every year to continue to be an associate nutritionist. Is that what they meant by that question?
Yeah, I think so. So every year you sort of, do you have to reapply to sort of keep your, or do you just sort of refresh your membership?
Yeah, you just refresh and make sure you've got that 30 hours of CPD in case the AfN asks you to obviously prove that you've done that.
Yeah,
and that's all logged in your area on the system as well. And then you tick which competency. There's a little sliding button, and you. But I think you have 3 years to fulfil all of the competencies. So if you have some gaps at the end of this year, but you've completed 30 hours, then you might want to focus more on the gaps next year.
Okay, so there is sort of room for movement there then. Can I use an industrial placement year working in industry from a sandwich year as one of the 3 years experience? This was a year before I came in AfN.
I don't think you can. I think you have to be practicing as an associate nutritionist for that 3 years, but you can use evidence from that sandwich year in your portfolio. I've seen that before, because you can use evidence from your degree and your work experience in your transfer portfolio. But it has to be 3 years from signing up as an associate nutritionist.
Okay, so can the 3 years experience count if they are obtained internationally?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and we have international members on the register as well.
Okay, so as long as they're sort of getting the experience and keeping up with the CPD and things, it doesn't matter sort of where in the world it is. Exactly,
yeah, as long as it fulfills the competencies and is evidence-based.
Okay. Sorry, there's so many questions. I'm just having a little look. Okay. Oh, someone's asked if the AfN website is currently down, but it's been reverting them to WordPress. It's not quite working at the moment. Do we know if that's an issue?
It worked for me this morning. I went on this morning, so it works then, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's been working for me this week.
Fab, okay. Can you work with clients outside of the UK if you're registered with the AfN? I assume that's sort of the international question all over again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just be aware of their like Eat Well plate and things, because they change from countries, and obviously, you know, maybe do a little bit of research about where they're from and their food culture. But yeah, you know, I think that's absolutely fine. Just maybe do your homework first, because it'll be, if you start talking about our Eat Well plate and, you know, our recommended guidelines, it'll be completely different for different countries.
Yeah. Okay, so Louise said that she did an AfN accredited undergraduate degree in nutrition and became an ANutr afterwards. She's now completed an MSc in sports and exercise nutrition. Does my MSc count as CPD, and can I include it in my portfolio?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I did that.
Yeah, same.
I suppose that's a nice big chunk of CPD done there though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fab. Okay, so we're sort of running up to about 40 minutes now, so I just wanted to see if you guys have any sort of tips or advice for students and graduates and stuff about the AfN, sort of applying. What would be your main piece of advice to them?
Shall I go again?
Yeah.
I would say be really organised. I know it's easier said than done, but, you know, get just like a box or a big folder and just start slotting things in, and make less. I said it before, but making sure you've written up a reflective piece pretty much straight after if you can, because, you know, that's where it's going to be all fresh in your mind. And then you can always leave a section blank for how you incorporate that practically, you know, for them to date it and go back and say, actually, I learned from what I learned here, I've implemented in my work further down the line. Mm-hmm. Try and use that post-it note at the top to kind of match the competency codes with the evidence that you've got, because that will help when it comes to actually building that full portfolio. Really read the guidelines thoroughly. I think it used to be a 50-page max, and people used to send like 100 pages in and things. So make sure the guidance, that the structure and the guidance on the AfN website is really good. So use that as kind of like your Bible when you're going through stuff. That helps me a lot. So that's my advice, really.
Okay, so would you print off the CPD certificates then, and then sort of reflect on those?
Although I suppose now it's online, you know, you could have a folder on the computer and things. So
yeah,
I'm a bit Asian when it comes to stuff like that.
When I did my portfolio, there was some like webinars or whatever that I didn't actually watch straight away. So if you don't watch them straight away, sometimes you don't get that certificate. So I just put like a screenshot of like the slides, for example, and just wrote the reflective piece after. Is that still okay to do? Like if you don't actually like manage to watch the webinar in time, or can you still do that? Or do you actually need that certificate?
I think if you're reflecting on it in enough detail, it should be fine. You know, it's something that you've learned just because there's not a certificate at the end, it doesn't mean it's not valid.
Yeah, because that's what I kind of encourage my students to do, like if they can't watch it, because obviously I've got quite a few mature students as well who have like children and can't actually watch all the webinars at the time that they're on. So I just say that you can screenshot the slides at a later date and just write about that, but I'm just making sure that that is okay before I give that advice. Yeah, cool.
Fab. I've just seen something in the chat box, Sarah. I think this is a really good tip for those recording everything on a laptop. Make sure you back it all up to the cloud. You don't want to do your portfolio and then it just disappears. So I think that's probably really important at the moment, especially if it's all online. So
yeah, absolutely. My top tip would be stealing it from a well-known sports brand. Just do it. So don't let the demons in your head make this a bigger, scarier task than it is. Start and you know, try and enjoy it and look at it and all the exciting things and see the gaps as opportunities and reach out to people if you need help understanding those. There's lots of help within the regional reps or the AfN. Glynis has been putting together some guidance on the CPD because that's new for all of us this year to be logging that, but it's really straightforward to log on the website. So it's just if you go in through your login and then it will have your CPD and it's really straightforward.
Okay, so rather than sort of having your own sort of spreadsheet and having to log it all and then submit it, it's all just on there and a lot simpler.
Yeah, and you just attach the evidence there as well. So I haven't done this, but my intention now is to do it as I go forward. I'm trying to log all of mine this week, which I should have just done it.
Fab. Okay, right, there's one more question come in. As part of our course, we've done some competencies so that we've filled out a little bit, but did you, oh gosh, it's moved. But did you guys mention that the competencies have to be from when you have become an associate registration? I don't know if you guys understand that.
I think maybe if they're asking there about, you know, the evidence, your evidence can be from your degree, if that's what's being asked. You know, you don't have to have all the evidence within that 3 years. Like I've seen portfolios where they've still used things from the degrees. So I think that's fine. That's still the same, Laura.
Yeah, but it's 3 years from completing your degree if it's accredited for your transfer.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Right, so I think we should wrap that up there. Thank you so much, ladies. That was so helpful. I could have done with this a few months ago when I was doing my portfolio, but thank you so much. I hope everybody kind of found that helpful, and thank you for helping us out this morning.
No problem.
Thank you.
If anyone does have any questions, I'm more than happy for you to drop me an email or something. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Good luck, everyone.
Yeah, good luck. It's exciting.
No, thank you so much.